For the past 5 years, me and my buddies have turned my backyard into this snowboard park. Let me show you how. So, this is my backyard. For some of you, this may seem like a large backyard. For others, not so much. We don't have much of a hill here, so we actually build a drop-in, put on the top of the hill, and we have a tow rope. Now, the tow rope acts for 2 reasons. Pulls you back up top of the drop-in, but it also can get you speed for the larger features. 5 years ago, we set up the first tow rope. The next year we started building the drop-in, and from there we've been adding features and stuff in this yard full of different obstacles. I actually have all of the snowboard park tucked under the deck. You can't see it. There you go. Entire snowboard park under the deck. Not sure if you can see the lines or not, but usually on my last mow of the year I try to mark out how I want the rope to sit. So I can line up my drop-in, the pulley at the bottom, and it helps line up rails and features. Alright, got all the features out from under the deck. Next we're going to lay out the rope, see what it looks like, and we've got another pile up there for the drop-in. Alright, so we got some features laid out. Obviously, nothing's set in stone. Still got a few to put in the ground. Once we've got the drop-in built and know this rope is going to be what we're measuring off of, we can start perfecting these, but this is going to be our setup for this year. Yesterday was pretty windy, so we just tried to get as much done as possible. We built the skeleton for the base here, and we got the drop-in started. Obviously, I laid some boards down so that I could figure out where I wanted my cross beams at. Putting this thing together is like putting together an old puzzle. Somehow every year it seems like we cut a little bit more wood off, but it works. By no means are we any professional construction builders, but this setup has worked for us for the past 4 years. We've got 2 pieces here and there that we need to find. Usually we're at scarcity for like OSB or plywood. So much so that the top of the drop-in has been somebody's old shed roof. It's been 2 layers of OSB for the past 4 years. Off camera, I'm gonna try and start putting in some supports here so we can start getting the floor and the engine slide, I suppose you could call it, and then I can show you how that's all set up. drop in, the extra side drop in is all complete. Ended up also getting the rope strung up and the engine. I'll explain that in a second. But now that I got the rope up, I can start lining up my ramps and rails and start building those. All right, so the park is near completion, so we're gonna talk a little bit about our features here. This up flat, or if you flip it like we have previously, is a flat down. Now, this rail was the first snowboard rail I ever made, and still got it 5 years later. A little beaten up, we had to replace one PVC, because that's just what happens. But this is a cheap example of something that you can make for your backyard. Every year we put a little money into the park, but try not to go crazy. Last year, this was our new butter box. This is HDPE plastic. Bought a 4x8 sheet, which was rather expensive, about 80 bucks. But we made it into a 16-foot box, and this was a ton of fun last year. And it's more or less the first thing we've ever had like it, other than our 3 PVC wide rail up there. Obviously, this is not in yet, but if you couldn't tell, this is a trampoline frame found on the side of the road. I ended up using 2 of the pieces to support this rail over here. So we don't have a complete circle, but I figured, why don't we put this in the ground as it is? I've still got to weld all these pieces in, but this would be, kind of fills up this area over here where we're not at typically, because it brings us away from the rope. But this will be something you can have fun on and see, like, if you could ever hit the entire thing. We'll see how it turns out. Progressively, our jumps have gotten bigger and bigger, and this is our mani pad for skateboarding in the summer. And we've built this landing. This looks like a huge gap, but it's not too bad. If you use the tow rope to get you speed, you can hit this thing and jump over people, like so. Also, we picked up this pretty hefty pallet. This will just be a single jump with no landing for a kicker. And to top off this side of the rope, we've got the rainbow rail. We've had this, this is probably the second oldest rail we've had. And this year we decided to put it on one of our other skateboard boxes so that it's much taller. And we went with the pallet ramp. This year I tried experimenting with some more curved ramps, taking a 2x6, cutting it, and using some pallets rather than OSB or plywood, because we're kind of running out of that. This rail is brothers with this rail, and we've got these at the scrap yard. And previously we've had this one, a C rail. Last year we kind of set it at an angle, so it was a C rail and a rainbow rail into the down flat, but this year we're gonna make it a kick out. Just as long as we've had the rainbow rail, we've had this flat bar. I think it's a little over 10 feet. Every year this is one of our favorite and most go-to rail. Built that one along with this one over here. This was added last year, and I think we're going to try and make an A-frame out of it. We've got it set up over here so that you can hit it like a wall ride, an A-frame, or even a rail. Here's another cheap, great example of a rail you can make. This is our 16-foot PVC rail. And actually, you could probably butt up the same size pipe, but actually we've noticed that you hardly feel this, whether you believe me or not, but it works out great. And I also tried another curved ramp on this one this year. And at the end of the run, we've got our up flat down. Now this used to be 2 handrails. I cut the middle and welded them together to make a little fun rail. We keep it low, and sometimes we'll probably remove this jump so we can just hop onto it, but this is a good example of turning something that's not a rail into a rail. Unfortunately, most of our rails get rusty over the summer and the rain, so we clean those up and put some wax on them, and they usually stay clean throughout the year. So last thing, if you notice our drop-in, we have a little side drop-in, and we added that a couple years ago. And that is because we took my fire pit and made a down rail. We always wanted a down rail, but my hill wasn't steep enough. So this is what we resorted to. This year I am gonna add this piece. I need to weld up a bracket to support that end, just to give it a little extra length. But this actually used to be a bunk bed frame found in the woods. So this is 4 sections of pipe, really rusty pipe as you can see, welded together. And it works pretty great as long as it's cleaned up. It's fantastic. And I made this little box thing. It used to be a little bit of a jump made out of some plastic, and this year we're gonna make it a little bit of a drop coming out over here. So that'll be new this year. Over the years we've got more and more features, more and more ideas. It's all about what you're looking for and what you can do to build it. Used to have an old swing set, for example, and we slatted the whole entire front with pallet wood to make a wall ride. All right, park's looking a little dry after a couple 40-degree days, but luckily this was just our first snow. We'll get some more, but it's sunny out, and I figured I'd do some talking, a little bit of explaining, as the park is mostly done. Let's talk about the tow rope. So this is 5/8 double braided nylon rope, I believe. It's about 350 foot length, and I spliced it to make it a continuous loop. Now, it's so skinny because that's all I could afford. It's rather expensive as is, and it does chew up some gloves, but it also has to do with the speed of the engine. Speaking of which, we've got a 12-inch pulley on here, and that may seem crazy until I tell you that this engine has a gear reduction. This is an 8-horse Honda GX 240. This engine runs great. Best engine I ever purchased. I don't even know what it came off of, but this works beautifully. You may be questioning my exhaust. It's just a stock muffler with a car resonator on it. We had the exhaust shooting down previously, but that would melt this area of the drop-in. And the first year we actually had the exhaust shooting up, which just kind of smoked us out. So I put this resonator on there just so that the exhaust would route down and away. Now we have these seats back here on the drop-in, just a little resting spot, but we used to have a back to them. But when we did that, then our drop-in couldn't become a jump. That's right, this tow rope is fast enough going uphill that this becomes a jump, and this is our gap. My first year with the tow rope, the engine was sitting on a block on the ground. We actually had a 3-inch pulley on the engine, which was terribly slow, and it slipped like crazy because we couldn't keep tension on the rope. So what I've devised here with my drop-in is a little track section, and as you can see, I've got a big 1/2-inch threaded rod running through my 6x6 block with a little bracket on the front. And back here, we've got a little bearing with a plate on there. And to tension the rope, just take your drill, tighten it up. Beautiful. To eliminate issues, we've got this bearing here with a little guard so that this doesn't pop out, because the rope travels in this direction, and so this is what pulls us up, and we didn't want it to be sliding on the wood all the time. To finish off explaining the tow rope, at the bottom of the hill, we've got a 4x4 in the ground, probably 2.5 feet, and a big old pulley back here. The bigger the pulley, I'm gonna say the better, because it separates the rope so that when you go to grab it, you're not trying to grab both of them. For not knowing what I was doing, I'm pretty pleased with this setup, and it has worked great for several years. So usually by the time I get home, it's dark after work. So we've got 2 10,000 lumen lights that we prop up here on these stands to light up the backyard park. And I couldn't be more pleased with them. I mostly ride during the night, so I've gotten pretty accustomed to those. Hopefully we get some snow tomorrow. It's in the forecast. We can get some clips of hitting each of the features and show you what it's like. Alright, let me show you how this goes. We've got it all tensioned up already. This thing going. Bringing up the speed. Break the first pass. Brand new gloves. Oh, untwist the rope. I have to tension that some more. Boom. Just like that. Alright, time to try the big jump. Here we go. Missed the jump! That was pretty flat. Dude, I didn't even touch any of it. Should we move it back some more? Yeah. So, I guess we're gonna makes sense. We're gonna try this now.
Oh, I don't want to eat that piece of plywood.
That? Yeah.
The landing in general.
Yeah, you better not mess up hitting it.
Forget you lighter.
Yeah. Alright, here we go. Yeah, bro! You missed it! What the heck? Yeah. Oh! This thing's a little peppy now. Yeah. Big one time. Oh my gosh! I didn't even land on it again. Oh. Yeah, bud. There's the landing.